A lot of couples face when filing taxes. Should they file joint or separately?
Most couples choose to file together, but that may not actually always be your best choice. And joining us now to talk more about it, our good friend and certified financial planner, Joe Bert. Hi, Joe. Great to see you.
Morning, Amy.
All right, so let's start with the 4 different ways you can file, because there's actually more to it than just joint or separate. Is that right?
You can file, you're single, you have head of household, married filing jointly, and married filing separately.
Okay, so those are the 4 ways. Let's break them down.
Sure. Well, what we're talking about this morning is those folks that are married. Should you file jointly or should you file separately? And it really comes down to some choices. One of the things that you have to remember when you sign that tax return with your spouse, you are swearing that that tax return is 100% correct. And I've been around long enough to know that some spouses aren't always the most honest when it comes to filing that tax return. And particularly if you're, I hate to bring this up, but if your marriage isn't so on solid footing and it's kind of on the rocks and you're signing that tax return, you want to be careful, because you could become liable, or you will be liable, for any taxes or penalties that might show up on that tax return later.
Okay, so that's a little scary. So are you better off doing them separately just in case?
Well, once again, it depends on certain things. It oftentimes works if you're married filing separately to take that return, aside from the marital issue. If one of the spouses has a lower income and has a lot of medical bills, because then you could take that medical deduction, because right now your medical expenses have to exceed 10% of your income. And if you have a low income taxpayer and a lot of medical expenses, sometimes it makes sense to file separately.
Okay, so any drawbacks from filing separately?
Yeah, if you're filing separately, you may lose some of the credits, the child care credit, the adoption credit, some educational credits that you don't get if you're married filing separately.
All right, interesting stuff, Joe Bert. Definitely,
a lot of stuff to look at.
Yes, there is. Definitely consult with an expert if you're confused, because it is a lot to think about.
Consult with your spouse.
Yeah, that's a good idea. You can find Joe Bert, by the way, online. Joe, as always, thanks.
That moment where you say, are you hiding money?
How do you really answer that? 7